Lena never believed stories about digital anomalies. People online exaggerated everything: shadows, reflections, glitches. But her boyfriend, Ethan, was the most predictable person she'd ever known. Kind, calm, normal. At least until the night her phone caught something his face didn't. They were leaving a late movie, walking through the empty parking lot. Ethan joked about the jump scares. She lifted her phone for a quick selfie, teasing him for being scared. The picture captured instantly. She didn't even check it, not until they reached the car. And when she opened her gallery, her throat tightened. Ethan's face looked normal, same smile, same posture, but his eyes, they were a completely different color. Ethan had soft brown eyes. She'd stared into them hundreds of times. But in the photo, they were an icy, unnatural blue. Not just edited blue, but glowing, sharp, focused directly at the camera in a way he never looked. She showed him, confused. Ethan laughed. "It's just the lighting, babe." Except the parking lot had no blue lights, no neon signs, no screens. And the real Ethan standing beside her, his eyes were definitely still brown. But in the picture, the blue-eyed version wasn't smiling. It was staring right at her. Lena tried to forget about the photo. Maybe Ethan was right. Maybe it was just weird lighting. But the next day proved she was wrong. She and Ethan were getting ready to leave for brunch. He was by the doorway, tying his shoes, humming the same melody he always did. He looked normal. Brown eyes, warm smile. Her Ethan. So she opened her phone to take another picture, just to reassure herself. But the moment the camera app opened, she froze. On her screen, Ethan wasn't tying his shoes. He was standing completely still, back straight, head tilted slightly, staring at her through the camera lens in those same icy blue eyes from the parking lot. She blinked and looked up at the real Ethan. He was still on the floor, bent over, tying his laces, not even looking at her. But on the screen, the blue-eyed Ethan slowly lifted a hand and waved at her. A cold, stiff, almost plastic wave. Lena dropped the phone like it burned her. Ethan looked up, startled. "Whoa, what happened?" Her voice cracked. "Nothing, I slipped." But that was a lie, because when she picked the phone back up, the camera was still open, and the reflection Ethan was gone. She shut the app. Her hands trembled. Ethan frowned and walked closer. "You sure you're okay?" She nodded, but she couldn't shake what she'd seen. The blue-eyed Ethan was watching her from inside the camera, and the real Ethan didn't know anything was wrong. Lena avoided taking pictures for the rest of the day, avoided opening her camera, avoided letting her screen reflect anything. But that night, it didn't matter. Ethan was in the shower. Steam filled the hallway. The sound of running water echoed through the apartment. Lena sat on the bed, scrolling through old photos, trying to distract herself. That's when she noticed something. Every older picture of Ethan, ones taken years before they met, had begun changing. His brown eyes now looked subtly faded, a little colder, a little less human. Like something was updating them, replacing them, one photo at a time. She whispered to herself, "What's happening to you?" Her phone vibrated. A new notification appeared. One new photo saved, but she hadn't taken one. Her stomach twisted. She slowly opened the gallery, and her blood turned to ice. The new picture showed her, sitting on the bed exactly as she was right now. Same clothes, same posture, same lighting. Except the picture wasn't taken from her hand. It was taken from the doorway, from the dark hallway, from the direction of the bathroom, meaning someone or something had just photographed her. Her breathing stopped. Then she saw it. Behind her in the photo, standing half-shadowed, was Ethan. Not the real Ethan. She could hear the shower still running. It was the blue-eyed version, tilting its head, grinning too wide, leaning toward her like it was whispering something she couldn't hear. Her phone slipped from her hand. The shower turned off, and the real Ethan called out, "Babe, you okay?" Lena didn't answer, because now she knew the thing in the photos wasn't just copying him. It wasn't just glitching. It was trying to replace him, and it was getting closer. Lena didn't sleep that night. She lay next to Ethan, staring at the ceiling while he breathed peacefully beside her. Or she hoped it was him, because every time she closed her eyes, she saw the photo, saw that thing standing behind her, smiling like it was already part of the room. By morning, her nerves were shot. Ethan noticed immediately. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Hey, seriously, what's going on?" Lena opened her mouth to answer, to finally tell him everything, but before she could speak, Ethan's face changed. His eyes widened. He stepped back a little. "Lena, hold still." Her heart dropped. "What? What's wrong?" Ethan swallowed hard, staring at her with a strange mix of confusion and fear. "When the sun hit your eyes just now," he hesitated, "I swear your pupils changed shape." A chill ran up her spine. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking," he said quietly. She forced a shaky laugh. "You're imagining things." But Ethan didn't laugh. He kept staring at her like he didn't trust what he was seeing. "Your eyes looked reflective, like a camera lens." Her blood froze. She stepped away from him, holding her breath. Ethan raised his hands, trying to calm her. "Babe, I'm not saying something's wrong with you. Maybe you just didn't sleep." But she wasn't listening, because she felt something else. A soft vibration in her pocket. She shakily pulled out her phone. A notification flashed across the screen. "Mirrored connection established. Syncing subject, Lena." Her throat clenched. Whatever had been happening to Ethan in the photos, it was happening to her now. Not because she was being replaced, but because the thing needed both of them. Ethan stepped closer, concern etched on his face. "Lena, look at me. What do you see?" She didn't want to answer, because when she finally lifted her eyes, the real Ethan's reflection in the window behind him, just barely visible, smiled on its own. Lena's breath shook as she stared at Ethan, not the real him, but the reflection behind him in the window. It wasn't copying him anymore. When the real Ethan lifted his hand to touch her shoulder, the reflected Ethan didn't move. Instead, it stayed still, staring at her, smiling. Slowly, painfully slowly, its head turned directly toward her, even though its body didn't. A cold sweat ran down her spine. She grabbed Ethan's wrist. "Don't move," she whispered. He froze. "Lena, what's happening?" "Your reflection," she said with a trembling voice. "It's not following you." Ethan turned toward the window, and suddenly, bang! The reflection snapped back into place, copying him perfectly again. Too perfectly, like it was pretending it had been mirroring him the whole time. Ethan frowned. "There's nothing weird," but Lena shook her head violently. "No, it was staring at me." Ethan hesitated. His voice dropped low. "Lena, earlier when you walked past the hallway mirror, your reflection didn't turn when you did. You kept walking, but your reflection stopped." Her blood went cold. He continued, voice tight with fear. "I thought it was a trick of the light, but now I'm not so sure." The apartment suddenly felt too quiet, too watched, as if the walls had eyes. The air grew heavier, thick with something unseen. Lena fumbled for her phone, hands trembling. She opened the camera app, not to take a picture, but to use it as a mirror. The screen flickered. Static crawled across the image. Then it stabilized. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She and Ethan appeared on the screen, but standing behind both of them were two figures, two duplicates, blue-eyed, smiling, still. Their reflections, but not reflections, their replacements. Ethan whispered one breaking word. "Run." Lena didn't wait. She grabbed Ethan's hand and sprinted toward the front door, but halfway through the living room, the air changed. A pressure, like the atmosphere itself, thickened. The lights flickered. The TV turned on by itself, not to a channel, but to a black screen, showing nothing but their reflections. Not the real them. The blue-eyed versions standing perfectly still, watching, smiling. Lena yanked Ethan toward the door, but it slammed shut before she could touch it. Something heavy pressed against it from the other side. Ethan cursed and pulled harder. "It won't move." Lena turned. The TV reflection moved first. The blue-eyed Ethan took a single step forward. The screen rippled like water, and suddenly a pale hand pushed through the glass. Lena screamed. The blue-eyed duplicate stepped out, its movements too smooth, too silent. Its smile never changed. Then the second one, her duplicate, followed, glitching in and out like bad reception. Their steps were soft, measured, predatory. Ethan pulled Lena behind him. "Stay back," he shouted. But the replacements didn't listen. Her duplicate tilted her head, the same way it did in the earlier photo. Slow, inhuman, almost curious. Then Ethan's duplicate opened its mouth. No sound, just a long, distorted stretch, like its jaw was unhinging. Behind them, the mirrors began to shake violently, every reflection in the apartment glitching, vibrating, sinking. Lena felt her phone buzz. A notification appeared. "Final sync ready. Choose host." She dropped the phone like it was burning her skin. Ethan looked at her in horror, his eyes. "Lena, what does that mean?" But before she could answer, her duplicate spoke for the first time. Not with a voice, with two words projected into the room, layered, digital, broken. "One of you stays. One of you comes with us." Lena backed into Ethan. Her heart pounded so hard she thought it would tear through her chest. Ethan whispered, voice shaking, "We're not choosing anything." The duplicates took another step forward in perfect sync. The room dimmed. The reflections behind them warped into black, empty silhouettes. Then, everything went dark. A loud, sharp crack. And the video feed, the recording of the moment, ended.